Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday. Okay, go live. Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, July 14th, 2022. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. You can see the beautiful faces of the Dean, William Kurelic, and Mark Porter of Scouting, Ohio. You know it's Thursday, and you know we are about to talk recruiting. We're having some technical difficulties, shocker, with our Twitter, but we're trying to get that running here. If you are on Facebook, if you are listening to the podcast, please utilize anything you can to make it happy. Give us a thumbs up, give us a 5-star review, etc. I'm going to try and keep getting the Twitter to go, and we will see if that will work. But we appreciate these guys being here. We've got plenty to talk about. Gentlemen, tight end. I thought we were done with tight end. That was my vibe on it. Ty Lockwood, class of 2023, already in the mix out of the state of Tennessee. But Ohio State engaged in a battle for, shocker, another Georgia-based recruit, Jelani Thurman. He has a very impressive offer list, but word is Michigan State and Ohio State are the hottest schools. He is committing Sunday at noon. Bill, should I cancel my plans for Sunday?
Well, let's kind of go back a little first. Ohio State last year was interested in signing 2 tight ends. They ended up signing one, and a guy that I think has a nice future ahead of him. Interesting, kid from Georgia, Christian Bennett. And they were interested in getting another one, but they didn't reach for one. They were in good enough shape, and Kevin Wilson has done a great job of recruiting tight ends, and they were in good enough shape moving forward that they could kick a second tight end to this class if they need be. And so they got their tight end early, I know Mark agrees with this. We both like Ty Lockwood a lot. I mean, he's what a tight end should be. I mean, he was impressive at Ohio State this summer. I think he's a tremendous prospect, and I know Mark will chime in the same. So they got that started. He happened to be their first commitment. Then they were only going to take another tight end if it was somebody they really, really like. High ceiling, high level guy that would have a skill set that would fit in well with Ty Lockwood, and the two would complement each other. But lo and behold, Jelani Thurman is that guy. I mean, he's got a high ceiling. His skill set fits in very well. I think he and Ty Lockwood could be a great duo at Ohio State. I think it would be an absolute grand slam. And right now, I think Ohio State is going to get Jelani Thurman. I crystal balled him to Ohio State yesterday. Steve Fong followed that with a crystal ball, and Bud Elliott followed with it. And we'll find out for sure on Sunday. But that would be, to me, a Kevin Wilson grand slam for the Buckeyes to get 2 tight ends of that caliber.
Mark, I can see some video going in the background there. Looks to me like the video of the dude we're discussing. Your thoughts? You first were wondering if we're going to go tight end or defensive end.
Yeah, you know what? And let's. I was a tight end in college, so I like breaking down the tight ends. Ty Lockwood. Why did we love him, Bill? He did both things so well, blocking and receiving. And I know fans every year want this receiving tight end who's Tony Gonzalez or Travis Kelce or something like that. But in reality, to football, the blocking tight ends are the most valuable tight ends you can get. Now, when you get the receiver mixed in with the blocking tight end, you've hit the lottery, and that's what tight end has, or that's what Ohio State has with Lockwood. He's dual threat. He's a polished product. I'd say he's ahead of Jelani right now. Okay, and when you look at the film behind me and you see the Jelani film, he is an unbelievable athlete. That's the first thing that jumps off the tape. And I'd say he needs a little more polish. He's the rawer of the two. He looks like the more explosive receiver on tape. In fact, he's playing receiver a couple times on his film, making some one-handed catches and some crazy things out there as a receiver. But you could see his length where he's going to come in and get in the weight room. And you said it, Bill, the high ceiling type of guy where this guy could come out in 2 or 3 years from now and look like a totally different, like a Ricky Dudley type, like that long, lanky tight end that can run down the middle of the field. But I think when you watch Jelani blocking, he has pop and explosion off the ball, and he has great feet. He can get in position, and he can drive guys, and he's a good enough athlete where people don't slip off of him. You don't see blockers falling off him very easily. So I like both of them. Like if I had to give the edge right now to the more polished one would be Lockwood, but both of them have a ceiling where they could end up in the same place, the NFL.
And Mark, you mentioned athleticism. Talk about coming from an athletic family. Not many prospects come from a family that has one parent that played professionally. Thurman has two parents that play professionally. He's got his dad, Odell Thurman, who played in the NFL for the Cincinnati Bengals. And he's got his
first time out. I had no idea we were talking about Odell Thurman's son right here.
There you go.
That's a big deal.
We know how you like the NFL connection, so this just got the.
Do you guys remember Odell Thurman when he was with the Bengals?
Yep.
He was a stud.
Linebacker.
I'm not kidding. He was as talented as any linebacker in the league. I'll let Bill go from there.
And then the mother, she played in the WNBA. I mean, that's some great bloodlines there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm now packing my bags for Georgia, and I'm going to sleep on his doorstep to make sure he is in the mix. That is ridiculous. Does Dave Biddle know Odell Thurman's son is coming to Ohio State possibly? He'll buy a jersey. That guy's wow, that's really interesting stuff. I tell you what, I know I digress a little bit here. I'll guarantee you now that Ohio State has some kind of box they're checking for professional legacy, because this is no longer a coincidence. This is like almost half of the guys that are going to be in this class had a parent that played professional sports. Very, very impressive. All right, Bill, we've gone from impressive, and now we're going to the part of the show that many people are probably waiting for and are a little bit stressed out about. And because I don't want to take the abuse, I'm going to make Larry Ventresco ask the question, thankfully. Good morning, Bucknutters. Good start, Larry. Even better. Hello, guys. Really enjoy your show, especially since I'm retired now. He's buttering us up. This is someone buttering us up. This is you can feel the butt coming. But, and I added that in myself, is Caleb Downs really going to Bama? And Bill, will you be crystal balling him to Bama also? Thanks. This is in reference, I believe, to Caleb Downs, the star safety from Georgia, whose father, shocker, played running back for the Giants. Steve Wiltfong has crystal balled Mr. Downs, the younger one, to Alabama. We always kind of knew it was kind of an Ohio State, Alabama, possibly Georgia tussle here. Bill, your opinion on Caleb Downs being crystal balled elsewhere? As I said, if this happens, this would probably be the first time in this recruiting cycle where I feel like someone punched me in the stomach.
Well, will I be crystal balling him to Alabama? I don't know yet.
Oh, dramatic pause. You know what that is?
Yeah, that was perfect timing for this news.
Couldn't have been any better. But look, you know who's in charge. You know who did that? Saban.
Yeah.
You don't think Nick Saban has power? He stopped the dean mid-sentence there.
He didn't want that crystal ball to change, but I think Bill was about to say he hasn't changed Caleb Downs from Ohio State yet, but it obviously doesn't sound like the news is pretty based on the lead up to what we have done to Bill.
Yeah, and
we may have lost Bill reporting that kind of news.
Bill is taking dramatic pause to another levels, De Niro-esque in his acting chops here. Has no fear of the but let's just discuss this and I can kind of get you guys up to speed. I have a feeling Bill will be back here in just a second, but yeah, Caleb Downs, obviously, I think you could make an argument that right now, I don't know, Mateo Uyunglele might be up there, but in terms of the player that Bucknutters want the most, Caleb Downs might be on there.
Yeah, we don't need to sugarcoat that. We've done 5 of these podcasts where we've known he was the fun one. The Tackett Curtis was a fun one. Caleb Downs was like the fan favorites, where they were the juicy treat that had a lot of sugar on it. Yeah, this was the one that's going to sting for some of Buckeye fans.
But Mark, even so, he is legit. I mean, it's not like we're making this up. So you can
these were the high end, guys you wanted to put in your garage. These are the cars you don't touch, but they're the beauties.
So we'll see what happens here. Wilfong is rarely wrong with his crystal balls, and Caleb Downs does not strike me as the kind of guy who's going to be one that wavers. So it's a little bit disappointing in that level, but there's nothing much we can do about that. And we will get Bill in here for some expert.
And this is a phrase, and I don't mean to be cliche with this, but Ohio State tells me this multiple times over the years. We can't take them all. We're taking these high-end NFL prospects over and over again, and you fall in love with guys. It doesn't shake the tree at Ohio State. They're going to be fine, but I know sometimes there is a love for a player you get early on where you think, oh, I'd really like to see him in our jersey. And you know what? But I kind of have an agnostic thing to this, where these guys are all players that are coming in to develop. There is no sure thing. The NFL first round is a 50% bust proposition. Same with these recruiting classes, no matter who they are. And we've touched on that with the NIL money. You want to throw NIL money? Okay, throw a bunch of NIL money and see how sure you are about some of these players. And even the Caleb Downs and the guys that you think can't fail, there's still risk. So I try never to let my heart take over my scouting brain and think, oh, that player can't be replaced. He's was such a big piece that piece will never. No, there's other guys that'll fill that role and do it quite well.
I appreciate Mark with his therapy for me there, as I internally, my heart breaks if we don't get Caleb Downs. We're going to take a quick break for those of you listening to the podcast. And when we come back, we're going to attempt to have the dean, the more vertical version of him, chime in. Okay, we're back. Dean, bring us up to speed on Caleb Downs. You were about to do so earlier, and you went for the all-time dramatic pause, but now you're back.
My laptop or my computer all of a sudden started doing updates, and it went out. So I am now on my phone and doing the show. So hopefully you can hear me fine and all.
Everything's good.
But that's what happened. So anyway, will I be crystal balling Caleb Downs to Alabama? The short answer is I don't know yet. I have long felt that he goes to one of three schools: Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. And I've said that for quite some time. And I've also said that I have felt for quite some time that Ohio State was running number 1 or 2, not number 3. And it is looking like it's going to come down to Ohio State or Alabama. He started trending late yesterday afternoon or maybe early evening to Alabama. I had previously said that I wasn't ready to crystal ball him to anyone, Ohio State or Alabama. And if I absolutely had to say, I'd probably go with Ohio State, I said, but it's just too close to call. And I still feel that way. I still feel like he hasn't made a final decision yet necessarily. And I know that Alabama and Ohio State are continuing to recruit him. He hasn't set up an announcement date yet. So while things are trending to Alabama, I'm not ready to crystal ball him to Alabama or Ohio State for that matter. I want to see what happens, what transpires here.
We can hope. We can definitely hope. All right. Another development that I think is legitimate here, and I was waiting to pronounce this, but it does appear that, in my opinion, the first NIL school has emerged, and that is the U, Miami. There are more guys committing to Miami and considering Miami now than there have been in a decade. If you see the guys they're getting, they are in the mix for legit prospects. If you go back and look over the last 10 years, Miami did not recruit on the same level as the other, even Florida schools, and they have pulled ahead of them now. The example I'm going to use here, Bill, is Olaus Alinen. the offensive lineman was theoretically, in the eyes of many, down to Ohio State and Alabama. And then now Miami comes into the mix. You can't choose Miami over Ohio State and Alabama for purely football reasons. So that must mean the guy from Scandinavia who grew up in cold weather, we're going to lose out for weather, which I can't believe. But Bill, maybe a little bit on Olaus Alinen, because he was really the only offensive lineman left on the board I thought they would take, because he was a left tackle prototype. Now it looks like he's going to the U. Maybe Alinen and the U, two things we didn't expect.
Well, again, I want to go back before I directly answer that question. People are really concerned that Ohio State offensive line recruiting. The goal this year for Ohio State, when you look at the numbers, and I've looked at these closely, their goal was to get 4 offensive linemen in this class, and 5 if number 5 was a high-level elite type guy. But the goal was to get 4 offensive linemen in the class, and they've got 4 good ones. The 3 kids from Ohio, I like a lot. Luke Montgomery is a top 50 overall prospect in the country. And Josh Padilla, I've liked him for quite some time. Austin Searvelt, Ohio State beat out Notre Dame for him. He did not have a fake offer from Notre Dame. They beat out Notre Dame for him. Notre Dame has recruited extremely well in the offensive line, and they wanted him. So they've got those 3. Then you put in Miles Walker, who Ohio State, they beat out Texas A&M and Penn State for him. Texas A&M has a very good offensive line coach who is from that area that Miles Walker is from. And Ohio State still, Justin Fry still went there and won that battle. So they've got a group of 4 O-linemen that I like. I definitely like. Alinen would have been, and he's not committed anywhere yet, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Ohio State. I don't expect that. But he would have been kind of the cherry on top, so to speak. But he's not someone they absolutely, again, they filled their needs with 4 offensive linemen that I like, 2 tackles, a guard, a center. So they filled their needs well with guys that I think are very good players. Alinen, I do think he's probably going to Miami. If not Miami, then Alabama. And again, everybody approaches the NIL differently. And personally, I like Ohio State's stance on that. They are more into paying the guys for production at Ohio State, and then they get paid then, and then they get paid after they are developed and that production comes into play and they get picked high in the draft. And personally, I tend to like that approach.
Yeah, Bill, that's a key here. And I think it's going to end up being an overarching theme to recruiting. You're going to see the schools that pay for name on entrance, and you're going to see the schools that, you got to come here and earn it because there are guys on the team already who had a higher profile than you did and are headed to the league. I do think will Ohio State lose out on a few guys because of that? Probably. But in the long term, I still think, and I think you guys would echo this, the goal is for these guys to get to the NFL. I don't think any of these NIL deals are going to be anything close to, for example, what Andrew Norwell has made in the league. So long term, that this is all going to flatten out and we will be in good shape. I don't have any worry about that. All right, next question. Bill, this is, if my guy Downs wasn't the number 1 guy on the board, it was this guy. Brass Tacks. Brass Tacks is not afraid to go to caps here. As we all know, caps mean business. We are not getting John Walker. We've never had success getting 1 and 3 tech defensive linemen from the deep South. We were lucky to get Tyleek from Virginia. But when's the last time we got a top 1 tech from the deep South? Now, he is bringing up a solid point there. Tyleek Williams, while from Virginia, he's from Northern Virginia, which is not like the rest of the state. He's fantastic, though. Bill, your vibe on John Walker. First, Mark, let me ask you this. Your thoughts on John Walker. He's very highly rated, but I think the Bucknutters want him a little bit more because he's more of the classic defensive tackle type from the South we haven't been able to get. Is he all that he's cracked up to be, or is that our eyes too big for our stomach there?
No, he's cracked up to be, and I think that Southern feel is because Alabama's had great defensive lines, Clemson's had great defensive
LSU.
lines, Georgia. It seems like that's where those defensive lines are built. So you want to go down there and steal some of that. Same way people want to come to Ohio and take our offensive linemen. Yeah, John Walker is your true one technique, unmovable object who has the athletic ability to run around and be more effective than just the blob in the middle. I think we can get him. I know I've been following Bill on him, and ever since we put his evaluation out, the Bucknutters have been all over this guy about being a coveted player. And guys like Caleb Downs, John Walker's, at this point, these are the cherry on top of the milkshake. I mean, you already got the thing filled up to the top. You're just putting a little sprinkle or something on the edge with guys like this in this type of class. And that's kind of the way I look at John Walker right now. But he is big time inside. He lives up to the height. The athletic ability with his size is just rare, I would have to say.
Bill, he lives relatively near the University of Central Florida, which, by the way, is now the biggest school in the United States attendance-wise, has topped out over Ohio State, Minnesota, and Texas A&M, which usually battle that out. And the word was his mom wants him to stick around. I refuse to believe Ohio State's going to lose a recruiting battle to the University of Central Florida. Am I clueless?
Well, it could happen. It could happen. And I've said this for a little bit now. John Walker is a homebody to some extent, and there's nothing wrong with that. People like to be at home. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Central Florida, obviously, he's from Kissimmee, Florida, which is kind of a suburb of Orlando. So that's right in his backyard. His mom does like that possibility. It's going to come down to three schools, really: Ohio State, Central Florida, or Florida. Florida has not given up. They are looking to possibly get him back on campus at the end of this month. He is announcing on July 28th, I believe it is. And they're looking to get him back on campus in that little window at the end of the month. But right now, as things stand right now, the top two schools for John Walker are Ohio State and Central Florida. I've got him crystal balled. I crystal balled him early to Ohio State. I still have that pick on Ohio State. And I really don't like changing my crystal ball picks. I very rarely do. That's one that I could have to change for Buckeye Nation's sake. I hope I don't, but it's a possibility, because it is a possibility he goes to Central Florida, believe it or not. We'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be one of those three schools, and I think probably one of those two as things stand right now, either Ohio State or Central Florida.
Dex is following up on safety recruiting. Bill, assuming we don't get Caleb Downs, Fagan is gone, and Jeremiah Bonsu is trending away. What's next at safety?
Well, they have two outstanding ones in the class already, as most Bucknutters know. Malik Harford, I know Mark and I like a lot. Then Cedric Hawkins from Florida. If they don't get Downs, Jonel Aguero is uncommitted. He is still talking about Ohio State. I would pick Georgia right now for him. I think they would turn up the heat, so to speak, on him and try to win that battle. Jaden Bonsu, who you mentioned, is definitely trending Miami, but Ohio State, he liked Ohio State early, so they could go back and continue, well, not go back, but continue to recruit him. Then Damon Fagan from Florida. He was up here in April with Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate, those guys. Part of the South Florida Express group that came up. He committed North Carolina State, but he liked Ohio State a lot. So they could always go for a flip there. And then, there'll be other kids that they'll look at and see how they do their senior year and possibly look for some flips. But those are the three names that I think you would look at first if Downs would end up going to Alabama.
Mark, Derek Williams. I don't think the former Arizona basketball player who selected 2 overall now plays in Europe, but I digress. He says he thinks Sonny Styles is a better player than Caleb Downs. I will say this, Sonny was that level of recruit in terms of rating, etc. Sonny has a similar background, and Sonny is that level of athlete. Mark, do you believe Sonny Styles is a better football player than Caleb Downs?
You know what? I think you were onto it with something there. They're both high-level players. Like they could both be first-round draft picks in 3 or 4 years because of their athletic ability and the way they're made up, based on their height, weight, speed, type thing there. But I think they're different players. I think Caleb Downs is more athletic. I think he stays at safety. I think he covers at safety. Where I think Sonny Styles is on his way to an outside linebacker type role. Maybe even farther down to the defensive end type role if he turns into be a great pass rusher. I watched him do that a few times in high school, so maybe I'm enamored with that ability of his. But I think, yes, upper echelon players. If you're an NFL team picking in the top 10 picks, it's depending on need. Do we need a safety or do we need a linebacker? They both have that type of value. Today, coming out of high school, they're the 5-star, that level. So you're right. If you were to pick which one was a better football player, I think Caleb Downs was actually, I don't know, maybe a little bit better a football player because I always thought of Sonny being a little raw because he's going to have to transition down to another position. So there's maybe an unknown. Can he do it? I say yeah, but I'm just saying a 2% unknown because we haven't seen him move down to play a bunch of linebacker. He's been playing safety his whole career. So yeah, if you want to split hairs like our question there, which one's better? I could see the argument either way, but I may go with Downs and go against you. Just coming out of high school now, and I may eat my words in 3 years because Sonny Styles may be the best player in the country at his position.
I would say Styles is a better NFL prospect, and Downs. I mean, if this was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, Downs would be a corner. He wouldn't even be playing safety. So
Agreed.
It's a little bit of a difference. Guys, I'm just telling you from covering a lot of basketball and football, there just aren't many guys on the earth built like Sonny who are that size with that speed. Now, Caleb is a great player, but I don't even think he's 6'1". Sonny is a good 6'3".
No, that's a great point. That he might have the rarer body type and makeup. There might not be as many Sonny Styles walking around.
There aren't.
Caleb Downs, which is a very, very fair point for value.
So, but in terms of like who's going to step in next year and get more interceptions, or I'd feel more comfortable in the back end, it'd probably be Downs. If I were picking and I had to pay one of them X $1 million a year for the next 15 years, I think I would go with Sonny. I don't think Sonny is going to play in the NFL. It's just a matter of what position. There is no doubt about it. I mean, I keep coming back to this. Sonny Styles was one of the best shot blockers at the Peach Jam as a reserve guard. That does not make any sense. That's like break the map or break the analytics kind of stuff. And he's that talented. So,
the way to describe this sometimes is when you're looking at the Miss USA pageant and there's 30 of the most beautiful women in the world. What do you like? Blondes, brunettes, or redheads? They're all top of the line.
For the record, I don't mince words. Yeah. For the record, my answer to that is yes. And secondly, this is like the LeBron Jordan argument. Second place.
Yeah.
Still
So
getting a Hall of Famer.
We do this and we talk a little bit negatively about a player where you're like, you're really splitting hairs. Like I hate to have to pick one over the other or pretend like there's a separation like that. But yeah, if you want to split hairs, it's fun to do. And that was a nice exercise on breaking those two down.
Look, that's what you call first world issues or whatever. There are many programs that have never gotten a guy as good as Styles or Downs.
Yeah, you're right.
Teams in the Big Ten have never gotten a recruit that highly. So we're in great shape. All right, Bill, you handle this one.
Dan,
go ahead.
Let me go. Can I go back real quick to one other story? The one person mentioned that, Ohio State never gets a 3 technique out of the South. Those guys are hard to find. They're hard to land. But I got to go back with a story, quick story about one that they did. And it's been a few years, certainly. But don't forget about Ryan Pickett. from Zephyr Hills, Florida. Jim Haycock, who was Ohio State's defensive coordinator, recruited that guy. And he wasn't rated as the #1 defensive tackle in the country that year. He was probably rated, he's in the top 5, but not #1. And he picked Ohio State. I remember Jim afterwards, a little bit down the line, told me, hey, as he put it, we got the #1 defensive tackle in the country. We got Ryan Pickett. And lo and behold, when you look at the guys in that class that year, Ryan Pickett ended up as being the #1 defensive tackle in the country. So I don't know. There's probably been a guy or two out of the South that Ohio State's gotten since then. But that's a case of where Ohio State got the best defensive tackle in the entire, not only South, but the country that year in Ryan Pickett.
Yeah, I thought Antoine Jackson was going to be that guy. If anyone remembers correctly, we lost the recruiting battle to him originally to Auburn, and he went to, I think he went to Blinn Junior College before he landed here and didn't really materialize like we thought. Harish Charizmi asked what's going on with Downs. Dude, you got to watch the pod, brother. We just went over that for a while. All right, last question, Bill. And it was about this. Here we go. And you guys can both weigh in on this. Scott Franklin, are you surprised by Al Washington's Notre Dame recruiting success? We should add that Notre Dame and Ohio State seem to be battling it out currently for the #1 class in 24/7 sports recruiting rankings. We opened the season with Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman's their coach. He's hired Jim Laurinaitis. He's hired Al Washington. Bill, are you surprised by Al Washington's Notre Dame recruiting success and maybe just the success that Notre Dame has had overall in recruiting?
Not really. I mean, Al Washington is a good recruiter. There's no doubt about that. When he was at Ohio State, look at the 3 linebackers they signed last year. And I can include Sonny Styles in that group, even though he could be a safety, but Al Washington recruited him, and CJ Hicks, Al Washington recruited, and Gabe Powers. So, that's 3 pretty good linebackers. Al Washington was the reason that a big part of the reason that Zach Harrison, almost went to Michigan. So yeah, Al Washington's a very good recruiter. So no, I'm not surprised at all about that. And Notre Dame is having a good recruiting class, but right now Ohio State's #1, and I think they have the potential. I know they have the potential to continue to stay ahead of Notre Dame when the final rankings are done.
Mark, you know those guys at Notre Dame well. Do you think they can continue their success, or is this kind of like the early bird getting the worm here as their new guys?
Yeah, I'll back up a sec. Al Washington came onto my radar at Boston College, where he was doing a great job recruiting there, and it's a little harder to recruit kids to Boston College than it is where he's at right now.
Just a bit.
And that led to his job success, at Ohio State. What he did there got his name out there. The guys at Notre Dame are going to be tough to recruit against. I think this younger generation of coaches, and I bring up Luke Fickell and Matt Campbell, and let's throw Marcus Freeman in there and some of these younger guys. They appeal to kids.
Yep.
And what they have at their back is the facilities at Notre Dame, which are being upgraded, which have been upgraded, which aren't the same. Brian Kelly said, they need to do more. They're doing more up there. I actually talked to an Ohio State recruit this summer who couldn't believe the difference in the Ohio State facilities as the Notre Dame, but they were well aware Notre Dame was on the catch-up path right away. Like the dirt was being dug for the new facilities there. So
I'm sure they let him know about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not like they're not going to be on even footing, but I think they're going to be trouble. I think you're going to have to deal with them year after year. I don't think this is a blip on the radar. I think this is a fad that may be here for a few years, or as long as they have success, just like any other team. If they don't, they fizzle against Ohio State. They fizzle a few more times this year, and then you can kiss it all goodbye.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to chime in with that. Let's see what happens on the field. That's a big part of it, as you mentioned. They're going to have success on the field.
Yeah, but, Luke Fickell did it before. He won. He created the excitement that we're going to win, and he had little samples of proof that we're going to win, and same with Matt Campbell. Hey, look at the big win we had this year. I know we didn't get them all, but you see the steps in the right direction. That may be all they need for a year or two, but you're right. if they don't do something big in those first couple of years, it's hard to recruit kids who what history to them is 5 minutes ago on their phone.
Yeah, here's what I'll leave everyone with. This is what I think is the positive of Notre Dame getting better is that I don't think Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan can recruit at an elite level all at the same time in the Midwest, given the number of prospects. And I can guarantee you Ohio State's going to be in that mix. So if Notre Dame enters the mix, I'm telling you, Michigan's going to be playing with a limp because there's only so many dudes out there. So I will leave you with Michigan limping. I hope that makes you happy on your Thursday. We really appreciate Mark and Bill giving us this much time. Bill he's not afraid to use multiple platforms during the show, as you can see. He's gone vertical, he's gone horizontal. He'll be on the phones all day working it. We went almost 36 minutes today. This may be a record. Have a good one, Bucknutters.